I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Well, the holidays are right around the corner, and many of us are figuring out what we'd like to do in terms of building family traditions, especially if you are a young couple, a new family, a new blended family, all of those kinds of operations that make family traditions important. Now, I remember that some of the family traditions that we did when I was a kid growing up was going shopping at the last minute at Christmas time and loving the exuberance of being in downtown Chicago with the snow and the stories behind a lot of the store windows and buying all kinds of stuff with my parents as we raced around on State Street. And then there are those traditions where families get together for a meal at Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's celebrating. And those things are very, very important in instilling a sense of stability in your child's life. Things like teaching your kids how to pray by their bed, some little simple thing like that to establish a regular routine in their lives. Or teaching your kids special things that you have in your family that you want to celebrate. And I know that a lot of times young families who are just getting started, they want to establish their own family traditions, borrowing from one side of the family to the other and then making up their own. So I'm thinking fondly of a lot of childhood memories and things that I instilled in my family. Sisters, what about you? What kind of family traditions have you established? What kinds have you passed on? And what kinds do you want to see for the future?
Let me start.
Okay.
Because I also remember the tradition of mama trying to get everything established, fussing the whole time, saying I'm not going to do this anymore, having nobody help her put the tree up, and getting very angry. I've decided to pass that tradition on because every Christmas when we are here, I end up putting the tree up by myself, pretty much fussing the whole time. It's an artificial tree, but it's 9 rows of branches,
Branches.
fussing the whole time, arguing and saying I'm not going to do this again, and then being really mad by the time the whole thing is, especially by the time my husband says, "Oh, you did a really good job," and then and then I'm ready to fight. So so on the tradition, so that's our tradition. I'm assuming that Sarah is not going to want to pass that on, but if she does, then she will be the third generation of mama fussing and getting angry. But seriously, I do know that there are some times that uh when we go home, like when we come to Chicago, I throw a plastic wreath on the door and call it a day. And that's enough. But a lot of times what happens with young married couples or young couples is that they start by trading off. You either go to his parents or her parents or whomever. You go to one spouse's relatives, and next year you go to the others, and it gets to be a real trouble. And sometimes there's compromises and sometimes they aren't. But also what happens is that when the kids come, you really do want to start your own traditions. Maybe you don't want to travel and bring all these presents somewhere and then have to bring them all back, or fight about this, or this one has food allergies, or this one doesn't get along with that one. And if you read some of the advice columns, you'll know that this is the time of year that everybody gets really, really stressed around traditions and families. So maybe we should start thinking about ways that we can turn the volume and the stress level down. Like maybe we don't do the big shop at the last minute, even though I find personally that there's no point in shopping before Christmas Eve. Um, Barbara always has everything done early and she has the packages and out and all this other kind of stuff way before I've even thought about what I'm going
She
to do.
shops in October, so that's
Yes,
why.
exactly. If you're really organized, do that. If you're not, Christmas Eve is fine for you to go to the CVS, throw some junk in there for your people, you know, go to Target, get $200-300 worth of gift cards, call it a day. I am just really, because for me, the holiday is about spending time with people. It is not about the stress of shopping. Plus, I'm all worn out from all that fussing about the tree. Naima, Naima, now you're Muslim, so you
Hey,
don't
I
celebrate.
made a decision. I was not going to stress around these holidays, and we did not. I mean, as a kid, grew up in a two-family home. Downstairs was my mother and my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law, and upstairs was me and Sultan and Zakia. Well, of course, we're following Muslim traditions, which means we're not doing the big shop and everything on Christmas. And we went kind of back and forth each year because on the one hand, you don't want to seem like you're not grateful for other people's gifts, but on the other hand, you don't want to go through all that stress because you remember what that was like. So we would decide, okay, we're going to give, simple gifts. And,
Right.
some people appreciate it. Some people like, I spent all this money on your gift, you don't give me, So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to let other people push me to stress like they did,
Right.
because if you're stressed, then what was the point? The whole thing is supposed to bring joy, but if you're angry, then that negates the point of the whole celebration. So we would usually, people would come to downstairs to my mother-in-law's, the other family would come over and we'd exchange gifts and all of that. And, and there would be people who would kind of feel like, well, I spent more money on your gift than you spent on mine. And I was like, hey, y'all know we Muslim. Nah, we didn't buy us anything. You chose to do that. We're giving you something symbolic. Yeah, we didn't, go to the high price store on North Michigan Avenue. We ain't doing that. I'm sorry, And but Zakia did get a chance to experience many different things because she was part of a African cultural community at her school where they did a big Kwanzaa thing. So that was the whole big celebration we were involved in with that. And that involved some gift giving, some, 7 days of celebration. We went to all of that. So, I mean, for her, that was kind of a tradition that she has memories of, her school friends and everybody participating in that. And there were various cultural celebrations around the city. So we did that, and then of course we had Ramadan, which is our big thing. It's 30 days of fasting and a big feast after that. Every day you're getting up before dawn and you eat a meal, you pray and all of this. And so that was the family traditions that we maintained over the years. But we also wanted her to be involved with her family. We didn't want her to feel isolated because we talked about this. Me and Sultan talked about this. We saw how other families handle it. Some just sort of ostracize themselves from their families. And we said, no, we don't want to do that because children end up growing up kind of bitter. It's like they didn't get a chance to really bond with their family. So we didn't want to do that. So we did decide to do on birthdays, we'd have big birthday celebrations. We had a tradition where we'd hang a big birthday sign on the wall, happy birthday, and then, whatever age the person was, and make a big deal out of it, a cake and everything. Every now and then, we'd invite the family over. So we did that because that was, it was a way everybody could participate. There wasn't any disagreement over religion and all of that.
Right.
And she would have memories because life is about memories, and childhood is supposed to be about good memories, because you got to have something to go back to during your life when things are awful. You got to be able to go back to a good childhood memory. So we did want to make sure she had that. And so we maintain those traditions, which kind of helps, like if there's any life change, death of a loved one, like, my husband passing away, having something that you do kind of helps you feel the normalcy of life.
Right.
So I think maybe, the first few times me and Zakia did Ramadan together, that sort of helped, kind of maintain that feeling of family tradition, and, going to the mosque and all that sort of thing for the fast breaking and the prayer services and all of that. So you do have to have something that your family does so that you can feel a regularity, and it needs to bond you with other families. It needs to be a time that, especially if you've got siblings and they have children, because we didn't really get a chance to really hang out with our cousins growing up that much.
No, we didn't. We didn't do that.
Big family gatherings. So I wanted her to experience that, growing up with her cousins that were her same age. So we did a lot of, things at Barbara's, with the birthdays and the Thanksgivings. And, even though our husbands just couldn't resist having a debate.
Those deep discussions.
Hey, just eat the turkey, please.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I think also there has to be flexibility in your traditions. I remember one year, a couple of Eric's brothers had lost their jobs, and Eric was between jobs. And, Eric's mother had said, look, we don't have any money for any presents. And I forgot who came up with the idea, but I know on our side of the family, because we were strapped, we said, let's re-gift. Let's give some things that we already have as gifts. And that became a tradition with my husband's family, where we were not buying stuff. We were finding things that we liked, that we wanted to wrap and give, something that we already owned. We didn't buy it. That had to be the stipulation. It couldn't be something that you bought. And then we got into as the families got larger, we got into having the big elephant gift parties, where everybody brings one gift, and then we all trade off. And those were kind of fun things that we did. And I think my family missed most when the kids grew up and moved away. Other family members on my husband's side particularly said that they missed the gingerbread men that I made, because every year I made gingerbread cookies, and these gingerbread
red hots for eyes.
And
the red hots for
make them for the cookie exchange at my church. And then I remember as the kids
I
got
had some
older,
friends that wanted me to advise you to go into business making those gingerbread cookies.
yeah. Well, then we started doing this thing with the story of Christmas. The
is that an
Advent thing where the kids could, and they were also, it was really fun because the kids got to enjoy putting the ornaments on the tree. Each day was a story that actually showed, there you go, that's a better scene. It was a story where you could read the story, and then you put the ornament on the tree, and you did that for like the next 25 days up until Christmas. That became a tradition that we always did. And then one of the things was going downtown. I remember as kids, us going downtown on State Street,
and
looking in the store windows that always had some kind of Christmas or winter solstice scene. And then when Eric was in seminary, and the seminary wives would get together, one evening we actually shared different traditions that everybody had in their family. And because we were part of Swedish Covenant Church, a lot of the people that we lived with were Swedish, and so they would share their tradition of the person had to find the ornament pickle. The first child that found the pickle in the tree got an extra gift from Santa Claus. And that was really kind of cool. And then we went to a Santa Lucia traditional service where the girls would dress up all in white and wear these lit crowns on their head with candles as they marched in to celebrate Santa Lucia, who was like one of like Saint Lucy, who was one of the early martyrs in the Christian church in Rome in 300 CE. So we learned other traditions from other people and then adopted the ones that we liked, and they became our regular traditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. You know, when everybody grew up, you know, Zakia was away at school, away, overseas, just away working. And I was, working with Rainbow Push, Reverend Jackson's organization. Every Christmas, he goes to Cook County Jail and does a Christmas service for the inmates there. And, and I was doing our TV show. And so we would bring the cameras and, be with other media people there that would cover his Christmas service at the jail. So that kind of became a tradition for me, I guess, over the last 10, 12 years that they've been doing that. But they've been doing that for even longer than that. But I started doing that on Christmas, going to the jails. And it's really been an amazing experience. One year they had a really nice jailhouse choir that performed, and they were really good. Nice. Yeah. And, one year, well, a couple of years, they do, because every year he would do this whole, big group prayer thing. You pray for forgiveness and, pray to become a better person and all of that. And that was always really a dramatic thing. And so every year, it would be some really powerful program. A couple of years he had a comedian. This woman, she goes by Mom's Maybe, and her takeoff is kind of from Mom's Maybe.
Mom's Maybe.
Yeah, she's really good. She's really funny, So she performed a few years, and there'd always be different politicians who would go, like Congressman Danny Davis would come, and others that would come all the time. So it was a really nice thing, and we would bring toiletries and stuff for the inmates. I think one year they did a voter registration. I think did that a couple of years, and
can they vote there after they get out of jail?
Can they do what? Can
they vote?
Yes, in Illinois you can vote. Well, actually, in jail, jail is not prison where you're convicted, so you can still vote while you're in jail. Okay. A lot of them don't even know that, so that they would give them to vote so they could vote absentee. So I mean, it was a learning experience, and you did kind of feel like you were giving to some people on Christmas, so it was rewarding, So I'm sure I did it over maybe 10, 12, like I said, over the years as a tradition. And then also they would give away on Thanksgiving. They would feed people there. And so we would go to Rainbow Push on Thanksgiving morning and help serve the lot of homeless veterans and things like that. So we did that for, the last 10, 15 years with Push. So that kind of became like a holiday tradition, because I always feel like, okay, if this is about giving, let me do something as a citizen to give. Because
I really liked President Obama's example that he showed his family and the nation by serving on Christmas and Thanksgiving, where he and his family would go and serve at a homeless shelter or something like that. Yes. And I think it's important to establish that kind of tradition with your kids so that they don't just do it over the holidays, but it becomes a regular service that you take part in every year. I know one of the things that we do, we always send the Samaritan's Purse shoebox to kids in other countries right around this time. And then I remember one year our kids actually invested in buying a goat for a family in one of the African countries. Something where
we used to do that Sunday schools too. In fact, when Sarah was young and we had Sunday schools, and the Toys for Tots. And we would collect money for throughout the year, and then we would take our Sunday school kids to Walmart because that's the cheapest place to get toys. And we would have them, and they knew going in, now we are buying toys for other children, And so we would have them go out.
Yes.
So there was never any big deal about, oh, can't I have? It's like, oh
Mm,
no, we're having you buy these toys because you know what kids like. And
right.
so
Yeah.
we would take that, and they really got into that whole thing. We did that for
That's good.
years growing up, and it would be a big shopping trip, and then they would go and they would go to the state police and drop the toys off. So that was a good tradition because, like you said, if it's about giving, we should think about giving.
Right.
Now, as far as my family, for years, because obviously all of Sean's family is here, and we used to actually host Christmas. But to
Mhm.
de-stress all of that, I would have it catered because I just said, I had to have a good friend, and she was a caterer, and we would get all this food, and she would give me specific instructions on when to warm what whenever, and we would have the whole family come over, and we live in a cracker box house. But it was fun because everybody would just get together and they would just have fun. They would, the kids would go downstairs and they play on the Wii or whatever game thing we had, and or they'd be doing one of the dance things, and it was great. It was great. And now, even now that everybody's big and grown, they're saying we kind of miss that, because people kind of scatter
Yeah.
everywhere when they miss being in this cozy little place that, like, when people say, oh, no, our house is too small. It really isn't. It's about
Mhm.
being with people. And now I'm trying to think, well, you know what? I got stuff piled up in the corners of my room. I'm tired of stressing about shopping for people. We kind of have this tradition that one of my nieces started where everybody gets like a name where they buy one gift for one person. So that's less stressful. But now I'm thinking, I want to do more service stuff. I would rather take the money that I'm going to give and either, you know, buy something like a goat or whatever, or buy something for the children's hospital or something else, so that I'm not adding to the hoard, the junk that I already have. And I understand that people feel, for a lot of people, their love language is stuff. But we need to get away from the stuff because I think everybody gets so caught up in the decorating, fussing, uh, getting everything just right, worrying about the food, worrying about that we're so stressed that nobody enjoys the holiday anymore.
That's the thing.
No,
If
and
you're
it and
not
it
enjoying it, why are you doing it?
and it's either you're stressed because there's holiday parties if you work, if you don't work, there's holiday parties, there's family parties, there's all these things, and you're constantly going. If you want to see a show, you're constantly running back and forth, and you just have no time to breathe.
And
Yeah.
I think part of that comes from trying to plan to do too much.
Yeah.
I know for me now, you were making a joke that I shop in October, but as a young couple, I used to always see all kinds of prizes here and there throughout the year, especially when I went on vacation in the summer and would hit some really cool stuff for the kids at yard sales and go, oh man, this would be great for Christmas. So by the time that Christmas came, I had everything that I was going to get. All I had to do now was take the time to wrap it. But then another one of the things that I found to be extremely helpful in alleviating stress was just to I'm thinking of when the kids were small, we knew what they wanted and we got it. Then when they got older, they wanted to make a list of the stuff. When they were old enough to write, they wanted to write these lists of things that they would desire. And I had a rule in my house. We don't do the Christmas talk or the holiday talk until after Thanksgiving. So you can make your list, but I'm not going to look at it and we're not going to talk about it until at least the day after Christmas. I feel like the marketing world moves up all the holidays on top of it. And really, it turns into like commercialism, and you can't even enjoy the holidays because of the commercial attachment.
Yeah, everybody.
Every card place, they go and you got to buy a card for every holiday. And, a lot of my friends, they don't even send out Christmas cards anymore or Christmas newsletters because it's just become too expensive, too stressful. And for me, I just do what I want to do, and the rest, I don't.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, we got a greeting from our dear sister, Beata. She'll be on later this evening on the Female Solution Soul Purpose Healing. So tune in, you all. Let's write at www.blogtalkradio.com/the female solution, the female solution. But of course, she's a grandmother down there in Florida, and does some great things with her grandchildren. And I know a lot of people who maybe after their children are grown, they sort of feel. I remember the first year that, because we get together with our cousin Brenda and mom and daddy, and I remember the first year it hit them that there were no children, because I think I had come back from college, and everybody was involved in their life, and they had made this big meal, and they realized no one was coming because everybody was grown and there were no children. It was kind of a sad year, but it was like that was the year of the change,
Yes.
and you realize everybody
suddenly there are no dolls under the tree. Now, Barbara said something about, going throughout the year and buying these things. And we used to do that. Now, understand that we only have one chick. And I would buy stuff and hide them, forget that I bought them, forget that I hid them, come up with stuff like months later. Luckily, it was usually around her birthday, but I just had to stop doing that because we were always buying. Sean and I never communicated because we live in the same house. So Christmas, everything, she would have stuff under the tree and on the chairs and on the couch and all of this stuff. One year, we each got her a pair of lime green sneakers because she told both of us that this is what she had to have. And of course, why would we talk to each other? We live in the same house and see each other every day. So, and all of us are in the communications business, which means nobody talks.
Right.
So those are some of the traditions we kind of need to stay away from, because like you say, like now they're not even talking about Thanksgiving. They're talking about Christmas the day after Halloween. You go into Halloween and go in right after Halloween and they already have the Christmas stuff out because it's all about the buying. So let's start talking more about what we can do to kind of ease the stress, because we have been stressed for the last 3 years of COVID. Let's stop saying that it's 2 years. It's been 3 years of COVID.
It's 3 years, and
everybody's stressed. And we're still always hearing about deaths and surges and resurges and new Omicrons and new variants. And so everybody's stressed. They don't know where they're masked, if they're going to be flying, if they're going to be doing this. So we need to start thinking about things that will ease our stress.
How do you
get together with family? Maybe getting a meal together without, everybody having all of these issues that they bring up, constantly. There's some stuff on Instagram that are really funny about, all the elders, making rules, and then the kids making rules for the elders. And, the woman who does it is just brilliant. So we need to start thinking about the holidays as holy days, if they are. Traditional days of family get-togethers, without it being this constant, oh, you didn't buy me something expensive as I got you.
Right. It needs to be about giving. And one thing, another of our associates, Zelda, she's raising money and buying heaters for those who are living outdoors, the unhoused. So she's been really working diligently, helping the homeless with, especially now that it's turning cold, heaters, clothing,
Can you put, listen, because we've got to go soon. Can you put a link up to people
where they can go
and they can give those things?
Network.org, but I'll make sure I put the link up.
Sometimes just Google it. Google, what.
Yeah, but you know what? Because you're going to also, well, you also get a lot of solicitations from a lot of different organizations right now. This is the big fundraiser stuff. So a
Yeah.
lot of times, but you don't know how much of that money goes to the group that they're supposed to be fundraising.
Yeah. And
how
this is
much
one thing
goes
she
to-
personally, her and her husband personally take the stuff to the homeless.
Yes, yes. So that would be a good way
people.
of
Yeah.
finding, different ways to do stuff. And you can tell people we're not giving gifts this year, we're doing this. And
Right.
people will say, like it's the George Costanza thing about the human fund. That was a Seinfeld thing when he realized all he had to do was try to pretend like he gave stuff to people and he really didn't. So he made up something so so he wouldn't have to give people gifts. But we can actually just say, we are not giving gifts, we're not giving or receiving gifts.
Right. Yeah.
We're not
you
receiving
would have
gifts.
bought.
If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
give us, if you want to give, please give to either a charity of my choice or maybe a charity of your choice.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah, a
do
lot
with
of those
Mary.
things are readily available for people. And don't forget, people are not, in need just one time of the year.
Yes.
You get yourself established
365
with
days.
a certain group and
Yeah.
continue to support them throughout the year. I remember one of the things that we would do when we went downtown a lot. My kids always loved putting money in the Salvation Army bucket.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because they like doing it really often, I would give them a lot of change, like dimes and quarters, so they were not giving away all of my money while we're downtown because they insisted upon putting something in every bucket. That was a fun thing that we did. And we would also go to Navy Pier for New Year's for the celebration of fireworks. Once it was so crowded on Lakeshore Drive that we actually watched from our car because the traffic was stuck and it wasn't moving, but everyone got out of their cars, watched the fireworks from where they were on Lakeshore Drive, and then cheered when the finale ended. So there are different things you can do with your kids to establish a tradition that is fun and memorable.
Yes, fun, memorable, not costly, but something that will bring joy because that's what they want to remember. They want to remember the joy.
Yes, and not the bills that come in January and February.
Yes, or the fussing and the anger and swearing you'll never do this again.
But if you start early enough, like if your kids live overseas, I will have my baking done in a week, quite frankly. And I'll be shipping stuff off first week in December. And then I'm done. And I can relax actually, because I've gotten the serious important stuff done. My kids' gifts, my grandkids' gifts, all done.
Well, that's great. So you can do like Barbara and start in July.
or like Cheryl and start December 24th, a great time to shop. Everything's picked over. So
and it's on sale because they want to sell it and get
they want to sell it. Everybody gets a blanket, everybody gets a gift card. You're in and out in half an hour.
But whatever you do, have fun. And make sure your children have a fun memory because these are the times, this childhood, it's over before you know it. And they need to have something to look back on and smile. Because they're going to have enough to not smile about when they get older. So give them some good childhood memories. Well, we've got to go. And we want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms, and like us on Facebook, 3 Black Moms. And if you've missed any of our shows, just go to our YouTube channel and you can pull it up and watch it and share it with your friends. And we're on every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. So until next Sunday, I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Barbara. Build your traditions and have a great, wonderful holiday season. Goodbye. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima.
We're three Black moms.